Isn't it breathtaking how easily we define ourselves by what we can't do? How effortlessly we build a mental prism, stone by stone, from the failures of our past and the fears of our future. We call these walls limitations. But what if they were nothing more than carefully constructed illusions? A grand psychological hoax we have played on ourselves for so long that we've forgotten they aren't even real. Look around you. The world is a monument to the impossible. Before the dawn of the 20th century, the greatest minds on earth, the established scientists, and the most celebrated engineers, the very pillars of logic, declared heavier than air flight an utter absurdity. They wrote books, gave lectures, and presented ironclad arguments proving mathematically that a man-made machine would never ascend. And in a dusty bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio, two brothers with no formal engineering education quietly proved them all wrong. The world told them it was impossible. Their minds told them it was merely a puzzle to be solved. And the only difference between the two was a single defiant thought. What if they're wrong? We are taught from a young age to operate within the lines. We are given a set of predefined boundaries, financial, social, and intellectual, and told, this is the extent of your world. This is what's possible for someone like you. We absorb these rules, these unspoken contracts with mediocrity, and build our entire lives around them. We tell ourselves, I'm not smart enough, or I don't have the resources, or I'm too old, or I'm too young, or I don't have the right connections. These aren't observations of reality. They are self-fulfilling prophecies born from a quiet internal surrender, a surrender of the imagination. The greatest tragedy is not failing to achieve a goal. The greatest tragedy is never even attempting it, because we've already lost the battle in our minds. We have already accepted the verdict of our own self-doubt before the trial has even begun. This is the first and most powerful illusion. The belief that our mind is a passive recipient of information, when in reality it is a forge. It is the furnace where our reality is shaped and hammered into existence. So let me ask you a question that cuts through the noise. What if the person you are today is nothing more than a temporary construct, a fragile and a limited version of the boundless potential that is desperately waiting to be unleashed? What if the greatest act of self-discovery isn't about finding out who you are, but about unlearning all the lies you've been told about who you can't be? This journey, the true journey of any life well lived, is a demolition project. It is the systematic and ruthless dismantling of the beliefs that no longer serve you. It is the radical acceptance that the person who has been holding you back is the one staring back at you in the mirror. You see, the person who believes they are limited is by definition limited. The person who believes they are not a leader will not lead. The person who believes they are not creative will not create. Your belief system is not a description of your reality. It is the active creator of your reality. I didn't just write a book. He unlocked a code. He spent over 2 decades studying the lives of the most successful people on earth, the Carnegies, the Fords, the Edisons, and he found not one secret, but a master key. And that key, that foundational principle that unlocked every other, was this: your thoughts are things. They are not fleeting wisps of vapor that float away. They are tangible, powerful forces that, when combined with a definite purpose and a burning desire, will manifest into reality. Think about that for a moment. Every single building, every device, every artistic masterpiece, every scientific breakthrough began as a thought, an idea, a seed of a vision planted in a single mind. The light bulb was an idea in Edison's mind long before it was a physical object. The assembly line was a concept in Ford's imagination before it transformed industrial production. The world-changing innovation, the multi-billion-dollar enterprise, the lasting legacy, they all started in the same place, the invisible forge of the mind. And if that is true, if your thoughts have that kind of creative power, then what are you thinking about all day? What are you planting in the fertile ground of your mind? Are you a gardener of possibility or a farmer of doubt? Are you watering seeds of growth or seeds of limitation? The greatest battles you will ever face are not external. They are fought on the hallowed ground of your own consciousness. This is the first step, the awakening. The moment you stop living in the reality you were given and start creating the one you desire, it requires a profound shift in perspective. You must stop seeing yourself as the victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as the master of your own destiny. You are not a passenger in this life. You are the driver. You have the wheel, and your thoughts are the compass. This is not some abstract philosophical notion. This is a cold, hard, unassailable truth that the most successful people in history have all instinctively or consciously understood. They didn't achieve greatness by accepting their circumstances. They achieved greatness by challenging them, by refusing to let the opinions of others, the skepticism of the crowd, or the echoes of their own past failures dictate their future. They decided with a singular, unyielding conviction that they would become the person they were meant to be, no matter what. But a mere thought is not enough. A casual desire, a fleeting wish is impotent. It is a whisper in the wind. To create, to manifest, to transform your life, you need something more. You need a desire so intense, so powerful, that it burns away all doubt and indifference. It must be a desire that consumes you, that wakes you up in the morning and keeps you up at night. A desire that is not just a want, but an absolute and non-negotiable command. It must be a burning desire. This is the second principle, the fuel, the relentless fire that powers the engine of your ambition. It's what allowed Thomas Edison to try more than 0 times before he succeeded in creating a practical light bulb. When a young man asked him if he felt like a failure after so many attempts, Edison famously replied, "I have not failed. I have just found 0 ways that won't work." That wasn't a clever line. That was the voice of a man driven by a burning desire so intense that failure was not even a concept in his mind. He didn't see setbacks. He saw data. He didn't see defeats. He saw lessons. His desire to illuminate the world was so strong that it rendered obstacles meaningless. A burning desire turns a wish into a quest. It turns an idea into an obsession. It's the difference between a person who says, "I wish I could be wealthy," and a person who says, "I will become a millionaire, and this is how and when I will do it." The first is a dreamer. The second is a creator. The first is hoping for a handout. The second is designing a victory. This is the first true step out of the mental prison. You must find what you want, not what you think you can get. You must identify a goal that fills you with such an all-consuming passion that the sacrifices required to achieve it feel like a privilege, not a burden. It must be a definite purpose, not a vague notion of success or happiness, but a specific, concrete objective, a destination you can see, feel, and touch in your mind's eye. A vision so clear it's almost a memory. This is the beginning of the blueprint, the moment you stop just thinking about a future and start designing it. A burning desire is an unstoppable force, but a force without direction is just chaos. A fire in the field will burn everything to ash. A fire in an engine will launch a rocket. The difference isn't the intensity of the flame, it's the container, the design, the precision of the system built around it. Your desire, no matter how powerful, needs a container. It needs a blueprint. This is the next illusion to shatter, the idea that vision is a fleeting inspiration, a sudden flash of genius that comes and goes. It's not. Vision is a deliberate act of creation. Every skyscraper, every innovative product, every successful company, every single thing that has ever been built was first built in the mind. The architect doesn't show up to the building site with a stack of bricks and a vague idea. They show up with a detailed blueprint, a meticulously crafted plan that outlines every beam, every wire, every single component. And that blueprint existed in their mind long before it was ever put to paper. Your life Your future is the same. You cannot build a castle from a mental blueprint of a shack. You cannot achieve a life of abundance with a vision of scarcity. You cannot reach a destination if you don't even know where you're going. The vagueness of your desire is the first indicator of its impotence. You must be specific. You must be definite. This is the principle of clarity and vision. Think about Henry Ford. When he decided to build a motor car for the great multitude, he wasn't thinking about a fancy, bespoke vehicle for the wealthy. He had a crystal clear vision of a simple, durable, and affordable car that every person could own. He could see it, touch it, feel it. The Model T was as real in his mind as it would eventually be on the factory floor. He could visualize the assembly line, the efficiencies, the sheer scale of it all. That clarity of vision allowed him to not only create the car, but to completely revolutionize an entire industry. His vision was the blueprint that his genius and resources would follow. Similarly, Walt Disney had a burning desire for a new kind of entertainment, a place where families could come together and escape into a world of magic. He could have just built a bigger amusement park. But his vision was a kingdom. He could see Cinderella's castle, the Jungle Cruise, Main Street, USA. He could feel the magic. And that unwavering, specific vision was so powerful that it drew millions of dollars and countless talents to him, all in service of a dream that to everyone else was completely insane. Your own life is no different. You need to create a mental model, a detailed blueprint of the future you want to live. This is not some passive exercise in daydreaming. This is an active and creative process. You must sit down with yourself and define in excruciating detail what your purpose is. What is the single overarching ambition that will give your life meaning and direction? What is the legacy you want to leave? What is the specific financial number you will achieve? What is the kind of person you will become? This is where many people fail. They want to be rich, but they don't define what rich means. $1 million? 10 million? A billion? They want to be happy, but they don't define the conditions for their happiness. They want a better life, but they don't define what better looks like. It's like trying to navigate a ship across an ocean without a map or a compass. You will drift aimlessly at the mercy of every wind and current. You will not reach your destination. The clarity of your vision is a magnet. It attracts the resources, the people, and the opportunities you need to bring it to life. Think about it. When you have a clear, specific vision, it becomes infinitely easier to make decisions. When you're faced with a choice, you simply ask yourself, does this choice move me closer to my definite purpose or further away? This simple question acts as a razor, cutting through the noise and indecision that plagues the average mind. A definite purpose is an anchor in the storm. It keeps you from being swayed by every passing trend, every new shiny object, every discouraging opinion from someone who has given up on their own dreams. It gives you the power of purpose, the core of all meaningful action, but a vision, no matter how clear, is just a beautiful idea without the relentless, unyielding hammer of discipline. An architect can draw the most incredible blueprint ever seen, but without the discipline to show up to the job site every day, to lay the foundation, to pour the concrete, and to oversee every detail, the blueprint remains just ink on paper. This is the next illusion to shatter. The myth of the overnight success. The world loves a good fairy tale. The lottery winner, the tech prodigy who built $1 billion company in his garage, the actor who got their big break. We see the final product, and we assume it was a spontaneous explosion of good fortune. But what we don't see is the thousands of unseen hours, the relentless practice, the endless rejections, the quiet moments of despair, the discipline required to show up even when you don't feel like it. Abraham Lincoln ran for office and lost repeatedly for decades. He failed in business. He suffered personal tragedies. He could have given up. The world probably expected him to. But he had a definite purpose, a vision for the kind of country he wanted to live in, and he had the discipline to keep showing up, to study, to debate, to lead, even when he was facing monumental setbacks. His success wasn't a sudden event. It was the inevitable result of a disciplined, purposeful life. His vision was the plan. His discipline was the hammer that forged it into reality. This is the principle of discipline and action. It is the bridge between the inner world of thought and the outer world of results. It's the grit, the grind, the uncomfortable reality of bringing your vision to life. It's the willingness to do the unglamorous work day after day, week after week, month after month, with the full and unwavering conviction that every single action, no matter how small, is a step closer to your definite purpose. This is where the men and women who want to be successful are separated from the people who actually are. The former dream, the latter do. The former think, the latter act. The discipline is in the small choices. The choice to wake up early instead of sleeping in, to study instead of watching TV, to make the hard phone call instead of putting it off, to save money instead of spending it on instant gratification. This isn't about willpower. It's about building habits that serve your purpose. Willpower is finite, habits are infinite. A disciplined life is one where your daily actions are a direct reflection of your definite purpose. Your habits become a testament to your conviction. You don't have to force yourself to do the work because the work is now part of who you are. The discipline becomes as natural as breathing. The greatest myth of all is that the path to success is a straight line. It's not. It is a winding, treacherous road filled with dead ends, unexpected detours, and soul-crushing setbacks. And this is where the final and most profound illusions are revealed. The illusion that a setback is a failure, and the illusion that we can control every single outcome. Life is a game of chance and skill. You can stack the odds in your favor with a clear vision, a burning desire, and disciplined action, but you cannot eliminate the unpredictable nature of the universe. The unexpected downturn, the personal tragedy, the betrayal, the sudden, unforeseen obstacle, these are not punishments. They are tests. They are moments of truth that reveal the true depth of your purpose and the strength of your character. This is the principle of resilience and adaptability. Resilience is not about avoiding the fall. It's about how you bounce back. It's about the strength of your spirit after the ground has been knocked out from under your feet. It's about the refusal to be defined by what you have lost, but instead to be fueled by what you have left. Viktor Frankl, the brilliant neurologist and psychologist, survived the horrors of the Nazi concentration camps. He watched his entire family perish. He was stripped of everything, his dignity, his freedom, his humanity. But he found one thing they couldn't take from him, the freedom to choose his own attitude. He found a purpose, a reason to live, even in the midst of unimaginable suffering. He realized that a man who has a why can bear almost any how. His purpose was to help others find meaning in their own suffering. He wrote his masterpiece, Man's Search for Meaning, not as a victim, but as a testament to the indestructible power of the human spirit. His story is an extreme example, but the principle is universal. Setbacks are not roadblocks. They are lessons. They are opportunities for growth. When a plan fails, a disciplined mind doesn't give up. It learns. It adapts. It goes back to the drawing board, armed with new knowledge and a deeper understanding of the problem. This is the difference between a person who is persistent and a person who is merely stubborn. Stubbornness is an ego-driven refusal to change course. Persistence is a purpose-driven willingness to change tactics. Look at Elon Musk. He has faced numerous public failures, a rocket exploding on the launch pad, production hell at Tesla, endless public criticism. The average person would have retreated, but Musk, driven by a definite purpose to revolutionize transportation and colonize Mars, uses every setback as a data point. He doesn't see failure. He sees a critical step in a long, difficult process. He is a master of resilience and adaptability. not because he is immune to failure, but because he embraces it as a fundamental part of the journey. This mindset is powered by another force, gratitude. Gratitude is not a passive emotion. It is an active practice that shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. It is an acknowledgement that even in the midst of a storm, there is always something to be thankful for. And this is not just a feel-good platitude. Gratitude is a powerful psychological tool that rewires your brain. It reduces stress, improves your health, and strengthens your spirit. When you practice gratitude, you are actively training your mind to see opportunity instead of scarcity. You are choosing to see the lessons in the setbacks, the strength in the struggle, and the possibility in the present. This isn't about being naive, it's about being strategic. You cannot be in a state of fear and a state of gratitude at the same time. One is a prison, the other is a key. So, when the market crashes and you lose a fortune, are you cursing your luck, or are you grateful for the lessons learned, the connections you made, and the opportunity to rebuild from a stronger foundation? When a relationship ends, are you lamenting the loss, or are you grateful for the love you shared, the growth you experienced, and the clarity you now have? This is not about toxic positivity. It's about a radical commitment to a mindset that empowers you, even when the world is trying to defeat you. The illusion of limitation is a deep and pervasive one. It whispers in your ear that you are not enough. It tells you that your dreams are foolish. It reminds you of every failure, every rejection, and every single time you've fallen short. But the truth, the cold, liberating truth, is that the only power those voices have is the power you give them. Your mindset is the master switch. Your burning desire is the fuel. Your clarity of vision is the map. Your disciplined action is the engine. And your resilience and gratitude are the unbreakable armor that protects you from the unpredictable chaos of the world. And when you put all of these pieces together, when you choose to demolish the illusions and build your life on these unshakable principles, you discover something profound. You discover that you were never limited to begin as. You were only ever limited by the beliefs you chose to accept. You were not a victim of circumstance. You were a master of your own mind. So let me ask you one last question, a question that demands an answer, not with words, but with action. What if your limitations were just illusions? And what if you were about to prove it? And if you are to prove it, you must first master the art of disciplined action. This is the third great battlefield. The first was the mind, where you conquered the illusion of limitation. The second was the heart, where you forged a burning desire. But the third is the world itself, where your desire and your belief must meet the hard, unyielding reality of execution. The average person wants to be a writer, but they don't write. They want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't start. They want to be fit, but they don't train. The gap between intention and action is the graveyard of dreams. It is a vast, uncrossable chasm for most people, because they are waiting for permission, for the perfect moment, for the motivation to strike like a lightning bolt. They are waiting for the feeling to show up before the work does. But the masters understand a deeper truth. Action creates motivation. Inspiration doesn't precede the work. It is a byproduct of it. When you show up to the blank page, even when you feel uninspired, you are building a muscle. And that muscle, the muscle of discipline, is what will carry you through the days when the passion has temporarily faded. It's the silent, unyielding force that shows up and gets the job done, regardless of circumstance. Think about the most prolific creators in history. A composer like Mozart didn't wait for inspiration to write symphonies. He had a rigorous, disciplined routine. A painter like Van Gogh didn't wait for the perfect light to paint masterpieces. He was in his studio every single day, applying paint to canvas. A writer like Stephen King has a daily word count he adheres to, no matter what. The genius wasn't just in their talent, it was in their unshakable commitment to the work itself. They had a definite purpose, and they enacted it through a definite, disciplined plan. This is the very essence of Napoleon Hill's principle of organized planning. It's not enough to have a vision. You must break that vision down into a series of concrete, achievable steps. A grand purpose can be overwhelming. A single step is always manageable. The person who wants to write a book needs to sit down and write one page. The person who wants to start a company needs to make one phone call. The person who wants to get in shape needs to do one workout. The monumental is built from a mountain of small, consistent actions. This is where the illusion of perfectionism must be shattered. Perfectionism is a form of procrastination in a fancy disguise. It tells you to wait until the plan is flawless, until you have all the answers, until the timing is just right. But the perfect plan is a myth. The perfect moment is an illusion. The real world is messy, unpredictable, and a brilliant, unforgiving teacher. The only way to learn is by doing. The only way to improve is by starting, failing, and adapting. The Wright brothers didn't wait until they had a perfect airplane. They started with a glider. They launched it, watched it fail, and then learned from the failure. They repeated this process countless times, meticulously documenting every single mistake. Their success was not an accident. It was the culmination of thousands of small, disciplined actions, each one bringing them a fraction of an inch closer to their goal. They understood that every failure was not a setback, but an invaluable piece of data. And this brings us to the most difficult and perhaps most important aspect of the journey, the acceptance of temporary defeat. We are so conditioned to fear failure that we will do everything in our power to avoid it, even if that means avoiding action altogether. We see it as a reflection of our worth, a final judgment on our abilities. But this is the final and most dangerous illusion. The great masters did not fear failure. They understood it as a necessary part of the process. They did not see it as the opposite of success, but as a direct stepping stone to it. Failure is a teacher. It reveals your weaknesses, it highlights the flaws in your plan, and it gives you the humility and the knowledge you need to succeed the next time. The only true failure is inaction. The only real defeat is giving up. This is the principle of persistence. It is the force that allows you to keep going when everyone else has quit. It is the unyielding will that propels you forward through the inevitable moments of doubt and despair. It is the quiet knowing that every single setback, every single rejection, every single loss is a valuable lesson, and that with every lesson you are becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. Look at the story of Steve Jobs. He was a brilliant visionary, but he was also a flawed human being who was kicked out of the very company he founded. He suffered a public, humiliating defeat. But instead of letting it break him, he used it as an opportunity to build two new companies, NextT and Pixar. He used his time away from Apple to grow, to learn, and to sharpen his vision. And when he eventually returned to Apple, he did so not as a defeated man, but as a more resilient, more focused leader who would go on to create some of the most iconic products of our time. His temporary defeat was the crucible that forged him into a legend. This is the secret that separates the masters from the masses. The masters don't just have a vision. They have the discipline to pursue it and the persistence to endure the inevitable storm. They understand that the goal isn't just about reaching the destination. It's about the person you become along the way. The struggle, the defeats, the long hours, the sacrifices, these are not punishments. They are the alchemical process that transforms you from a person who wants something into a person who deserves it. This is the true nature of the journey. It is a spiral of learning, of acting, of failing, of adapting, and of growing. It is a relentless, beautiful, and often painful process of self-creation. The purpose isn't just to achieve your definite purpose. The purpose is to become the person who is capable of achieving it. The goal isn't just to build the skyscraper. The goal is to become the architect. And when you embody these principles, when you have the unwavering belief, the burning desire, the clear vision, the disciplined action, and the unshakable persistence, you discover something remarkable. You discover that the limitations you believed were real were nothing more than a ghost of your own making. The walls of your prison were never locked. The door was always open, and the key was in your hand all along. The person you were yesterday, who was defined by doubt and fear, is gone. The person you will become tomorrow, who is fueled by purpose and courage, is waiting. And the only thing standing between them is a single conscious choice. A choice to stop accepting the illusions and to start living the truth. A choice to step out of the shadows of your own mind and into the light of your own potential. A choice to finally, truly, and completely prove that your limitations were just illusions. But this journey is not just about proving something to the world. It is about proving something to yourself. It is about the quiet internal victory that occurs when you look back on a life lived with courage and conviction, and you realize that you did it. You overcame the greatest obstacle of all, the voice inside your own head that told you to quit. This is the principle of consciousness and self-awareness. Most people live their entire lives on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, driven by subconscious programming and the opinions of others. They are like a ship without a rudder, tossed about by every wave. But the master takes control of their own mind. They observe their thoughts without judgment. They recognize the negative self-talk as a relic of the past, a shadow from a world of illusions, and they choose to replace it with a new narrative, a narrative of power, of purpose, and of possibility. This is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice. It is a morning ritual where you set your intentions for the day. It is a moment of quiet reflection where you visualize your definite purpose and feel the emotions of its achievement. It is a conscious choice to consume media, knowledge, and relationships that uplift and empower you, and to ruthlessly eliminate those that drain you. You become the gatekeeper of your own consciousness. You are no longer a passive recipient of information. You are an active creator of your inner and outer world. And as you progress on this path, you discover another profound truth. The journey is not just about taking, it is also about giving. The most successful people in history, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Disneys, understood that their fortunes were a direct result of the value they created for others. They didn't just want to get rich. They wanted to solve problems. They wanted to build things that would make the world a better place. Andrew Carnegie didn't just create a steel empire. He democratized a vital resource that would build cities and fuel industrial progress. In his later years, he gave away the majority of his vast fortune, funding thousands of libraries and educational institutions. He understood that his success was not a solo act. It was a byproduct of his service to others. This is the principle of reciprocity and service. Your definite purpose to be truly meaningful and sustainable must be tied to a service you can offer to the world. It must be something that solves a problem, fills a need, or brings joy to others. When you shift your focus from what can I get to what can I give, your entire worldview changes. You stop competing and you start creating. You stop hoarding and you start building. When you embody this principle, you are no longer just chasing personal gain. You are pursuing a legacy. You are building something that will outlive you, something that will continue to benefit others long after you are gone. And this purpose, this connection to something greater than yourself, is a powerful and endless source of motivation. It is the fuel that will carry you through the most difficult times. It is the meaning that makes the sacrifices worthwhile. Think about the most impactful figures of our time. Steve Jobs wanted to put a bicycle for the mind in everyone's hands, a tool that would empower them to create. Elon Musk wants to make humanity a multiplanetary species, a vision that transcends his own lifetime. They are driven not just by a desire for wealth, but by a definite purpose that serves a grander collective vision. And this brings us to the final and most transcendent illusion, the illusion of the destination. We are so focused on the mountaintop, on the final moment of success that we miss the entire point of the climb. We sacrifice our present for a future that is never guaranteed. We suffer through the journey, hoping to find happiness at the end. But the truth is, the destination is not the point. The journey is the point. The fulfillment, the joy, the growth, the richness of life, it is all found in the process. It is found in the struggle, in the lessons learned from failure, in the relationships forged in the fire of shared purpose, and in the small, consistent acts of discipline that shape your character. The person you become while pursuing your dream is more valuable than the dream itself. This is the principle of gratitude and fulfillment. Fulfillment is not found in the acquisition of things. It is found in the appreciation of what you have. It is a state of being, not a state of having. It is the ability to find joy in the climb, to be grateful for the lessons, and to be fulfilled by the simple act of living a purposeful and conscious life. And so, here we are, at the end of the script, but at the beginning of your journey, the illusions have been revealed. The principles have been laid bare. And now, the choice is yours. Will you continue to live in a mental prison of your own making? Will you accept the verdict of your past failures and the fears of your future? Will you let the voices of doubt and mediocrity dictate your life's narrative? Or will you choose right now, in this moment, to step into the truth of your own potential? Will you decide with a burning, unshakable conviction that you will become the person you were meant to be? Will you declare to the universe, to yourself, and to every single person who ever doubted you that the greatest masterpiece you will ever create is the life you have yet to live? What if your limitations were just illusions? And what if you were about to prove it?